All right, all right, all right. Thank you so much for joining me here today. One more time. This is the second attempt I've tried to make at this video. We had a little technical difficulty a minute ago. Thank you for joining me here on the redpillinvestor.com, as well as Sell More Homes Now. Just wanted to go ahead and give you today a little bit of an extra view, if you will, a little extra taste of the prospecting that I do. Now, typically when I have an opportunity, as you know, there's a couple different times you can prospect during the day. You can prospect in the morning between 8 and 10. Typically, you'll get a lot of good folks. Or you can prospect in the evenings, anytime between 4, 6, 6 to 8, something along those lines. Either or are good times to prospect. The problem is not so much the time, in as much as the fact that it's us, right? We're the ones who have problems prospecting that late. When we get home about 4, 5, 6 o'clock, obviously you're having dinner. You're a little bit concerned about, gosh, I'm tired. I want to spend time with the family. I understand, believe me. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little bit of prospecting, about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, do some prospecting from some expired, some canceled, same folks we called this morning, maybe even a couple just sold types. We'll do a couple of those to see what we might have. And then we'll compare the results that we're getting from this morning versus the results that we got this evening, right? So this morning we did a couple hours of prospecting. This evening we'll do an hour, hour and a half or so. And then we will go ahead and compare. If you heard the prospect, the podcast from this morning, then you know what those people sounded like, and then you're going to hear what they sound like in the evening. That way you can make a judge for yourself as to what you think is the best time to prospect. So let's go ahead one more time, take this quickly to the Lord in prayer, because we don't want to take too much time. Lord, thank you so much for this day. It has been a great one, Lord. You've blessed us beyond measure. I'd ask that you'd go ahead and open up our ears, open up our mouths, that we might say and hear the things we need to say, that we might be able to help the people that you've directed us to. Lord, help us to do these things to your glory, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so let's prospect. Let's go ahead and press start. Bam. As you know, I've already got the Vortex dialer queued up and it's ready to... Hello?
Hi, you've reached Karen, speech language pathologist.
Okay.
I am not available to take your call right now, but if you leave me a message, I will try to...
Hang up. As you know, excuse me, I called many of these people this morning. And so what we're doing now is we're just going back through a lot of these expired listings that we missed. Some of the ones that I left messages with a couple days ago. I have been replying to messages all day. I even set an appointment this afternoon.
Hi, you've reached Shelley. Please leave a message.
Set an appointment with a person for tomorrow. Basically, as you know, I went ahead and left a message with a lot of people this morning. Many of them texted me back. I went ahead and texted them. Ultimately, we were able to go ahead and make an appointment for me to go out and take a look at their property tomorrow, I should say Wednesday. So that's what I've been kind of doing this afternoon, not to mention pre-qualifying the appointments that I have set already. Remember, when you're prospecting, the whole purpose of your prospecting is to do one thing and one thing well, and that's to set appointments. That's the whole reason why you're doing this. Obviously it would be great if every person you talk to would just say, "Oh, Carl, is that you? Oh, thank God you called. We were waiting for you. Why don't you come on over and list our property, or why don't you come on over and buy our home?" But unfortunately, homeowners and homeowners, they just don't act that way. They want to hear a couple things. They want to see a couple things. They want to know a couple things before they start making decisions. And unfortunately, those decisions take a little bit of time, and you're just going to have to kind of be patient while you're waiting for that. Unfortunately, your bills aren't all that patient, and I get it. That's why we go ahead and we do all the prospecting that we can, so that we'll ensure that we have all the leads that we can. Remember, Mike Ferry taught me, taught you, taught all of us very well. If you generate, you won't have to tolerate. That's exactly right. If you generate, you won't have to tolerate. Mike has taught me so many important things that I think it's important to share with you at least once a day, something that Mike taught me, because I think that's an important thing for you to learn. When you're out there prospecting, okay, One of the things that he put is never take rejection personally from people that you don't know. Right? If you're not the type, to go out and call people that you're not familiar with, to interrupt people's lives sometimes. Okay. If you're saying to yourself, well, gosh, Carl, there's just no way that
that does not accept solicitations. If you are a solicitor, please add this number to your do not call list and hang up now.
Okay.
Otherwise, please press 1 or stay on the line.
All right. Well, let's see here. Let's press 1 here. Let's see what happens.
Thank you. Please hold.
I'm thinking we are not going to get the answer here. All right. Well, no worries. So, as I was saying, there we go. If you're one of those kind of people who are looking at me or listening to this podcast and you're saying to yourself, well, gosh, there's just no way that I could call somebody, and there's no way I could call strangers. There's no way that I could talk to expireds or for sale by owners.
Hello?
Hi, is Kung available? Hello? Yeah, he was available. He just didn't want to talk to me. There we go. So I get it, right? It wasn't me. As I mentioned in a previous podcast, I hated prospecting. Prospecting was not my thing to do. I did not like talking to strangers. I was, kind of introverted myself. It was very difficult for me to create a habit of habitually getting out and prospecting every day. But I think what helped me was this time that Mike had said, you don't want to take or never take rejection personally from people you don't know. For me, that meant an awful lot. That really resounded with me. That made sense to me. I mean, I'm a simple guy. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a very intelligent man.
Please leave your message for 5.
But that's my point,
0,
right?
2, 4.
You don't have to be very smart in this business, right? You just have to be very dedicated. You have to be very motivated. You have to be very willing to put yourself in positions and talk to people and do things that perhaps you weren't really always comfortable doing. And so when Mike was explaining this concept to me about never taking rejection personally from people you don't know, he was saying to me that, look, and it wasn't just me. I mean, obviously there was a crowd of thousands of people here talking here, but he had said, if it was your wife or your girlfriend, husband, mom, dad, son, if somebody like that was telling you, I don't like you, I don't believe you, I don't want you to call me anymore.
Sorry, but the person you called has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
If they were going to say that to you, then that would probably deeply affect you. But if it's somebody you don't know, it's somebody you've never met, you'll
Call has been forwarded to an automated
probably
voice messaging
never meet them. I mean, even if you ran into these people in the supermarket, they wouldn't know who you were. If that's all true, why do we take these things personally? Why do we take the rejection?
The party is currently unavailable to take your call. Please record.
Why do we take the rejection personally? Why do we say to ourselves, oh, they obviously hate me. Oh, I shouldn't call because I'm interrupting them, or I should do this, or what. Look, why are you taking it personally? This has nothing to do with you. Has nothing to do with me.
Hello?
Hey, this is Carl Krenzel. How are you today?
All right.
I was looking for Brandon. Is Brandon available?
I think you have the wrong phone number.
Oh no. Okay, I was looking for Brandon Agrarian. Is this the right place?
Nope, I've never even heard of
Oh
him.
no. Gosh. Okay, I apologize. Well, I was calling about that property that was for sale at 1415 South Highland Avenue. Am I calling the right number at all?
Nope.
Oh
Nope,
my.
I've been getting calls about this for a
God
while.
bless your heart. I'm so
me.
sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, well, no worries. Well, listen, I appreciate your time. I'm going to take your number right off that list. Okay, you have a great day.
You too.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye-bye.
Yep.
All right. So that was the wrong person. I didn't ask him if he knew anybody or anything like that, simply because he is out of state. His number is an out of state number. He clearly has no knowledge whatsoever about this property. But realistically, I get. Trust me, I get if you're one of those people who says to yourself, "I can't see me doing that," or "I hate doing that." Maybe you're an agent right now and you're in a position. Hello, this is Carl Krenzel. How are you?
Who?
No problem. My name's Carl. Is Brandon available?
What number did you call?
Yeah, I was looking for Brandon Agrarian. Have I got the right place?
No, you got the wrong number.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I was calling about a property that was for. I was actually calling about a property that was for sale at 1415 South Highland. Am I calling the right number?
No.
Oh gosh. Okay. All right. And do you know anything about that property or that person at all?
Nope.
Oh, holy cow. I'm so sorry. Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great day. Okay.
All right,
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yet another situation where this is an out-of-state number, where he doesn't know anything. I mean, he's clearly out of state, doesn't know anything about this property or anything like it. I seriously doubt he's going to know anything about a property here in Tucson. It's certainly possible, but I'm trying to get through to a certain number of people, a certain amount of people within a certain period of time. Here in Arizona, as you know, or as where you are, right? The law says that you can't call people in your time zone after 8 p.m. So currently it is 7 p.m., which means that I cannot call people in my
You
time.
have reached the voicemail box of 6236068.
People in my time zone for another hour or so. And being that I'm so close to the the West Coast, my time's up in about an hour. It's not like I'm going to be able to call a whole bunch of people here pretty soon. If I wanted to call a bunch of people and call them early, I could start early in the morning, say 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and start calling people on the East Coast where it's 8 o'clock at their time and maybe 6 o'clock my time. If I wanted.
Hi, the person you're calling is using a screening service from Google and will get a copy of this conversation. Go ahead and say your name and why you're calling.
Carl. All right, well, no worries. We'll just skip past that one. We got more than one number to call anyway. It's not the end of the world. Don't want to get too hung up on him, right? Remember that this is a contact sport. When you're lead generating, you want to focus on setting appointments, okay? Because remember, highly unlikely that they're going to go ahead and list with you or sign a contract with you if you're a wholesaler and an investor. If you're looking for them to sell their property to you as an investment property, They're not going to do it over the phone. Okay, so what you're trying to do right now is simply identify who is willing to listen to what you have to say. And if they're willing to listen to what you have to say, then you quickly want to.
You have reached Kelly. I'm unable to come to the phone right now. Please leave a message and I'll call you back.
I think I have the wrong number on that one. You quickly want to set an appointment, right? And then feel free to go ahead and qualify it afterwards. So, for example, let's say you're calling for sale by owner. If you're, let's say, a real estate agent, you're trying to determine if this is something that you might be able to potentially list or potentially invest in, or maybe sell it to another investor as a listing or a buyer's represented sale, let's say, then one of the critical things you want to learn early on in the conversation is their willingness to pay some form of commission. Okay, you want to ask them something like, if I bring a buyer by, would you pay some kind of commission? How can I help you? Something along those lines. They'll say, well, gosh, bring us a buyer. What you're looking for when they say that they're willing to pay a real estate agent a buyer's commission, all you're simply looking for is willingness. And that, I think, is one of the biggest things I misunderstood.
Hi, I'm sorry I can't get to the phone right now.
I think that's one of the biggest
Please
things
leave a
I
message and I'll call you back.
misunderstood
Thank you.
when I was first starting out. Not the fact that they would list or not list over the phone, but I think it was just the fact that you had to be very rapid over the phone. You had to get to the point and figure out, is this person willing to pay a commission? Because if they're willing to pay a commission, okay, then a buyer's agent commission, then that just simply means that they haven't really bought in to why they should pay a listing agent a commission. Okay. So there's good news there. If it's a for sale by owner and they're saying, yeah, we'll pay a buyer's agent commission, well, then all you have to do is demonstrate why they should list with you, why you're worth the other X or Y percent that you charge to list the property, and how it's going to be to their benefit, how they're going to make more money in the long term by working with you. Now, you're not going to do all this over the phone, obviously, but a good place to start is doing this by setting an appointment very quickly and determining their willingness to listen. Now, secondly, the second thing you want to determine is this in an area that you could easily service, right? You don't want to be driving out to the far reaches of outer space to get this listing, because it's going to be extremely difficult to sell for you, because you're going to have to travel out there and take care of it and things of that nature. Now, if you're a wholesaler, let's say you're an investor listening to this and you're saying, well, gosh, how's this benefiting me? Okay, well, if you're a wholesaler or an investor and they're saying, well, gosh, we're willing to pay buyer's agents commissions and things of that nature,
2, 0,
then
6, 4,
right, that they've got a certain
2,
amount of money
9,
that's
3,
built into the price for negotiations. Now, I'm not saying that is your only amount that they're going to be able to negotiate. But for example, let's say hypothetically, now, if you were listening on the podcast this morning, we did a 2.5-hour megathon type of prospecting. And in that prospecting session, you heard me talk to a for sale by owner who had demonstrated a knowledge, a previous experience where he had sold his property and people had beat him up on the price. And then the agent came up and beat him up on this. And then somebody else came up and beat him up on the appraisal. And by the time it was all said and done, this poor guy, was saying his experience, he lost quite a bit of money. Despite the fact that I was able to I don't know, reason with him a little bit, maybe talk with him a little bit. I wasn't really trying to change his mind, because people have their own mindset. I get it, but maybe just insert some different thoughts in his head that, hey, look, people in your subdivision, they're not that way. They're only negotiating a little bit. And when they do, it's not much really more than $5,000. And in your type of property, that's less than 2%. It's not like they're having wild swings. See, as an investor, if you know that the multiple listing service, and this is fair, I think, to say wherever you are, if you're in the United States of America, I think it's fair to say that you probably have anywhere from maybe a 3 to a 5% price differential in your marketplace. The difference, if you will, between what homes are listed for versus what they actually sell for. That difference, that differential, if you will, it's only going to be anywhere from 3 to 5% depending on where you are. Now, certainly, there is going to be some areas out in the middle of Timbuktu or Oingo Boingo that's got some kind of crazy number where nobody's buying homes and everything is a mess. And I get it, right? However, if you are in a situation where you are talking to somebody and you say, look, are you willing to work with me on a commission? Then all you have to do is show them.
You have reached Dr. L. Wissinger. I'm sorry, I am not able to answer your call right now. But if you
can demonstrate to them that you're well worth the money, that you can make them more, then I think what you're going to find is that people will be a little bit more.
Aloha. This is Siri, Sharon's electronic secretary. Please leave a message, and I'll be sure to have it.
People will definitely, I think, listen to you, but you have to get to them quickly. So here's what I'm saying. When you find somebody who says that they're willing to meet with you, set the appointment quickly, right? For Tuesday at 5 or next Wednesday at 2 or whatever, but you want to try and get the appointment quickly. And then start qualifying them. As I mentioned, make sure they're not in Timbuktu or something along those lines. Make sure then, third, that they have equity. And this doesn't have to be done right then. This could be done before you go on the appointment. I mean, if you're going on to the appointment at 3 o'clock and you are doing your pre-qualifications and you're doing your lead follow-up at, let's say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're getting ready for your 3 o'clock appointment, and you looking, lo and behold, they just bought the property 11 months ago, and there's no way that they could purchase,
Please leave your message.
They could sell their property without some kind of heavenly intervention or coming out of pocket, then it doesn't really make much sense for you to go over there. I mean, unless, of course, you're going to qualify them and insure them. Now, I've done that too. If their motivation is such where they have to get out of Dodge, I mean, they're moving and this is not an option for them. They've got to move. You can call them up and say, well, gosh, I was just looking at the market and I'm curious, how did you come to those sales prices again? How did you say you got that? And they're going to say, well,
I'm not in. So if you
we
give
got
me
it
the
by
number,
X, Y, or
I'll
Z.
get back to you.
We did the comps. We did this. We did that. You've heard me say on the podcast before, and the last one in particular, you've heard me say that, tell me what the comps said, right? Don't be afraid to confront them about this, because if you've been a realtor for more than a day, well, then you and I both know that the comps mean absolutely nothing. Look, the comps are going to say whatever the comps are going to say. The comps are going to say
Please leave your
what
message.
I tell them to
for
say.
5-2.
Right? I mean, think about it. The comps are going to say ultimately what you make them say. Somebody way smarter than me one time said, if you torture the numbers long enough, they'll say whatever you want them to say. And that's the truth. No, obviously, if you've got a home that's a tract home in a $200,000 subdivision and there's, 5 comparables on either side of you, and they're all selling at $200,000, chances are, I'm not an appraiser, I didn't go to college, but chances are it's going to sell for around $200,000, give or take.
Hi, you've reached Whitney. Sorry I've missed your call, but if you leave your name
And you don't have to be a CPA or an appraiser or a lawyer or anybody else to figure that one out. You look at the comparables, and that tells you all you need to know. But what does the average seller do? What do? Well, they go out and they fit the numbers to meet the narrative that they want. You saw that in the podcast this morning. The fellow was saying, well, it's really hard to find comparables. When I asked him, well, gosh, how did you determine the sales price that you got? Because as I said, you want to qualify them a little bit. Well, I had some comps pulled. That's like a doctor. That's like you going into the doctor, okay? And you tell the doctor, well, gosh, I got pain in my chest. And
Hello.
Hi, this is Carl Krenzel. How are you?
Okay.
I was looking for the Huffalts. Is this the Huffalt residence?
What are you calling for?
Yeah, no problem. My name's Carl. I apologize. I'm calling about that property that was for sale at 10835 North Summermoon. Am I calling the right number? Going to hang up. What'd I tell you? Woo boy. Let's see here. Let's see. That's a good number, I think. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to say no answer. I'm not going to count her because you never really know. Could be a wrong number. But I'm going to be willing to bet you money, marbles, or chalk, as my father used to say, that that was the right person. And they didn't want to talk to me. But that's okay. No problem. I'm calling their other lines right now. So we'll see what happens. They might just pick up the one. I guess moving on to the next property now, I guess. But yeah, I mean, when you think about it, okay. When you are qualifying,
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging.
when you're qualifying people, okay, and they say, well, we pulled the comps, okay, what does that mean? Now, look, if you're a realtor or if you're an investor, right, you can identify with this, all right, you can identify with this problem. So what if, just a what if you had a property for sale as a realtor, or what if you had a property as a wholesaler? What if you had a property as an investor? And some realtor, some other buyer, some other wholesaler, some other investor, some other anybody came to you and said, you know, I like your property, but I found comparable X, Y, and Z, and this one's 4 miles away, this one's 3 miles away, and this one's 2 miles away, and really none of them are 3 bedrooms like yours. They're more of like a 2 and a den, and one's a 4 and a and I get that yours has a garage, but these have carports. In no way would you, as an investor, wholesaler, or realtor, accept those as a legitimate comparable. There is no way you'd do that. You'd never accept it. And in fact, if I brought those as comparables for you as to the reasons why you should accept my lowball offer, you might just laugh at me and toss me out of your house. I think that's entirely possible. Okay. Now that we've got that in the background, understand what's going on in the foreground with this for sale by owner. Now, the for sale by owner, if he wants a certain amount for his property or is uncertain of the market, what do? How do they determine value? You know, you might just think, well, gosh, it's pretty simple. We'll just go on Zillow and pull up the values that we want. You could certainly do that. But if you just bought the property a year ago and you've done some repairs, you didn't intend to sell it, it's kind of difficult to get Zillow to agree with your X% increase in value. And they're not going to reflect that in their Zestimate, right? So what is a frustrated seller to do? I mean, if you're trying to sell your home for sale by owner and you just bought it a year, 2 years ago, you did all this work, it's a flip, I don't know, and Zestimate's not agreeing with you, what do? Well, gosh, you go out and you manufacture comparables. That's what you do. You go find out comparables from everybody else and every other place you can find them. Okay, how do you do that? Well, you look on your tax record. That's one place. You know, another place I think you would probably look might be in your paper. You know, a lot of times people will do that here in Tucson. That's very common. What they'll do is they'll look in the newspaper. The newspaper, maybe where you live, it does the same thing. The newspaper will go ahead and present a list, right, of properties that have sold within the past, I think it was 90 days or so, yeah, but 30 days, I should say. But the problem is it takes about 90 days for you to get the information. So it's not like it's right there. It's not right there at the top of your fingertips. And it's certainly not available for a seller or a buyer. So in a seller, in this particular circumstance, if they don't have access to the multiple listing service, if it's their first time on the MLS, the first time putting their home on the market in years, because the market's changed, and they just bought it, They're going to pull comps from everywhere. It makes sense. So you as a realtor, perfect. All right, perfect time. It looks like we just ran out of the expires. Now, look, I want you to pay attention to something here, okay? We've been calling for a little while here, and I'm not entirely sure. It looks like we've been calling 29 minutes, right? We've made 76 calls to 44 leads. We got 2 contacts. Ouch. I mean, if you thought the morning was bad, the evening sometimes can be even worse because, man, Monday evening, I'm not picking up that phone, player. I am feet up watching the game. I am not worried about that phone. And a lot of these people may feel the same way. That's why you want to definitely call them early in the morning, first thing. Look, a good friend of mine told me one time, there's no good time for bad news. No good time. Okay. So they're going to be mad if you call them in the morning, or they're going to be mad if you call them in the evening. You might as well, get it over with. And I get it if you're one of those kind of people that says, I don't want to make them mad at all. Okay. Zig Ziglar said that, non-aggressive salespeople have skinny kids. Holy cow. All right. Well, here we are. Now we're going to go ahead and go back through some of these for rent by owners. Let's see what happens.
Please state your name after the tone.
I'm not
and
interested
Google
in
Voice will
that
try
one.
to connect you.
Not interested in that one. That one's in Vail. Thought I had deleted that one already. I hope these people pick up. They were an expired listing, and now they're for rent by owner. So check this out. One cool thing.
Hello?
Hi, this is Carl Krenzel. I was calling about that home you have for rental, the rental you have listed online. Is that still available?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Great. Well, again, this is Carl Krenzel. I'm a broker here in town who buys property. I was calling. Is this Daniel?
It says,
Oh, okay, cool. Well, this is Daniel. I work with a lot of buyers, sellers, investors in the area, and I was just wanting to find out what your long-term plans were with this property.
you know what? I don't know, but I'm not selling at this point, so.
Okay, well, the only reason why I asked it, and I might be wrong, but it looks like it was recently on the market. It looks like it was canceled. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Did you decide to just change your mind from selling, did you say?
I did.
I understand. Okay. Well, very quickly, you've been very patient with me, and I appreciate it. Do you know of anybody else, maybe in your friends, family, I don't know, church group, who's got an unwanted property that I could buy for cash?
Nope.
Okay. And with your property over there on Desmond, at what price would you become a seller?
$250.
I apologize. 250?
Yep.
Okay. All right. No worries. And may I ask how much it was on the market for when you had it listed previously?
$220.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I wish you nothing but success. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right. So, boom. Now, one thing that's cool, right, about this particular system here, with what I'm going to do is I'm going to write his number down here just to be on the safe side. But the cool thing about I'm just writing his number down here real quick, if you'll bear with me for just a second. One of the cool things about the Red X system that I enjoy anyway is the fact that this particular system tracks them throughout their life cycle. So, for example, if they were for sale by owner, then they went expired or canceled, and they decided to rent out, you've got that data right there, right? So, for example, in his case, he canceled his listing just the other day, and now he's listed it as a for rent by owner. Now, trick this. If he was expired, then maybe my mindset might have been a little bit different, right? Because an expired listing, as you know, their home just didn't sell. And you just got to, pump up the volume. You got to get them amped up. You got to get them excited about selling their property again. That's what you got to do. But when they cancel their listing, it's a little bit different, right? Because sometimes they cancel it because they don't want to sell anymore and because they just want to rent it out. Now, we could argue with the guy. We could try and make the case about why now's the time to sell as opposed to renting, but I'm not interested in having that argument. I was interested in that argument 20 years ago, but I'm not interested in that argument today. And the reason why I'm not interested in that argument today is because there's so many other people that I need to contact, and there's so many other places I can.
Oh, is that correct?
Hi, Oscar. I was calling about that rental you had listed online. Are you still trying to fill that vacancy?
Yeah, it's still available.
Oh, great. Okay.
As a matter of fact, I just put it up on, I think it was Saturday or Sunday.
Right on. Right on. Okay. Well, Oscar, the reason why I'm calling is my name's Carl Krenzel. I'm a broker here in town who buys property. I work with a lot of buyers and sellers and investors in the area. I was just reaching out to you to see what your long-term plans were with the property there.
Yeah, I bought it not long ago. I thought it was like maybe at the end of May when I got it.
Okay.
And it's actually my first property that I'm buying, to rent. I actually
Hallelujah. Well, good for you, Oscar.
I've been trying to get into something to get like a little bit of a side money,
See, that's a good plan, Oscar. Good for you. Well, that's a good move, my man. That's a really good move, moving into the real estate game. You trust me, you will not regret it. Awesome. Well, listen, since I got you here anyway, I'm sure you've probably got all kinds of friends around. Do you know of anybody who's got an unwanted property that I could buy for cash?
No, because I was exactly trying to do so. But anyway, I'll keep you posted.
All right, brother. Well, congratulations on that. You have a great day, okay?
You as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay. So there we go. Boom. All right. So as I mentioned with the Red X thing, this travels right with them. So you can see what's going on through the life of that prospect. With a canceled listing, it's a little bit different than an expired listing. With an expired listing, you might want to push it a little bit. With a canceled listing, maybe not, because maybe their motivation's just not there. I don't know. One of the things that I had mentioned earlier while we were prospecting is this issue about qualifications and this issue about confronting people on comparables, right? Now, you might think differently. And if you do, okay,
Hello?
Hey, this is Carl. I was calling about that rental you had listed online. Are you still trying to fill that vacancy right there?
So I have a friend that I work with that is going to let me know by tomorrow if they want to move into that spot.
Oh, okay.
But other than that, that's
no worries. That's totally
not really.
No problem. That's totally cool. Well, my name again is Carl Krenzel. I was calling Andrew because I work with a lot of buyers and sellers and investors in the area. I'm a broker who buys property. I was just calling to see what your long-term plans were with that property. What were you planning on doing for the next couple of years?
So I'm in the Air Force.
Okay.
I work at Davis Moffett, and I caught a special duty that is moving me to San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm leaving for that.
Okay.
So it kind of sucked for me, but I mean, not really sucked, but I bought it back in November.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just caught these special duty orders where I thought I was going to stay here in Tucson for a while. That's why I bought.
Mm-hmm.
But the Air Force didn't think of it that way. So
I understand. That's no problem. Well,
it's like once you buy a house or you settle down with something, it's like the Air Force wants to move you. So
trust me,
not a big deal, but
I know exactly what you mean. I was in the Navy myself for a number of years, and I can't tell you how many times I moved in an 8-year span. It was insanity. So I thank you for your service. I'm curious. Are you also? I'm curious. Are you a member of USAA, by the way?
I am. Yeah.
The only reason why I'm asking is because I myself am a member of USAA. I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not. If you're planning on keeping this property, then fine. I mean, that's no big deal. But if for whatever reason you had any idea of selling this property, USAA actually has a benefit that the service member can use that will help you sell this property and help you save some of your money on your commission and get some of that money back in your pocket if you were thinking of selling that at all. Have you thought about selling that at all?
Crazy.
No, yeah, it's a great program. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's a great program. If you want,
Is it part of like they got like the auto circle, the home circle, those options?
yeah. So
Like
the way
that
that it works, is if and what I can do is I can have one of the I'm one of their service reps, not service reps, but I'm one of their agents that I have a contract. I work with USAA, and what I can do is I can have USAA give you a call and kind of explain the program to you. But very briefly, what it is that if you're a USAA member, they have a benefit for your members, that you can go ahead and use an agent like myself to sell your property, and then you'll be able to go ahead and get some of that money back at closing. It'll kind of help offset, having to buy and then sell so quickly. Would you like me to have somebody reach out and give you a call?
So, I mean, because I just bought the place, I know just from like the hearsay that I have some mentors, like my boss that I work for here at DM.
Right.
He's kind of like a property guy in
Yeah.
town, and him and his wife equally have like a few, like about 20 or so places that they buy and rent out.
Uh-huh.
And stuff like that. And he said just golden rule of thumb, about 10% of what the house is worth is what you'll spend when it comes time to sell.
Okay.
And so I didn't obviously experience that because I was on the buying end, but the seller had to pay like the 6%, the 3%
Right.
for their realtor, and then the 3% for my realtor, and then fees of like transferring the title over
Mhm.
and HOA and all that stuff. Everybody's got their hands out around
Sure.
that time of it too. So he said just kind of figure 10% ish, 6 to 10%.
Okay.
And I bought it for $220,
Mm-hmm.
so that's like $22,000. I don't really have $22,000 laying around,
Right. No, I completely understand where you're coming from, and that is one of the challenges. Did you say that you purchased the property just a year ago, or less than a year ago?
Like just 6 months ago. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that would potentially be one of the problems for sure, in the sense that, I as to the 10% rule, I mean, that's probably being a little aggressive. I mean, here in Arizona, Tucson in
Yeah.
particular, I think of it more along maybe 7.5%, because your closing costs costs are about 1.5% on average of your sales price, and then obviously commissions are negotiable. But the thing that I guess is more important, it's not a bad idea also, and he's probably told you this the same, that it's not a bad idea to have properties as rentals. Did you use this under your VA loan as well?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? I mean, I can't make any promises about what, if anything, I would be able to do. But why don't I do this? I don't mind. Why don't I just go ahead and I'll reach out tomorrow morning. I'll call the USAA folks. I'll let them know, hey, why don't you give him a call? He had some questions, and then they can explain it to you how it works. That way you know about it. And that way, should you decide to keep the property, that's cool. At least you know about it in the future. And should you decide to sell it in the future, then you can use, I mean, you're still going to be a USAA member. You can still use the benefit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You want me to have him give you a call?
Yeah. Could you, because I'm really busy tomorrow morning. Do you have like in the afternoon?
Okay, yeah, I'll let him know that you're busy in the morning, and that give you a jingle in the afternoon. But yeah, that's no problem. I don't mind reaching out to him for you. That's no problem.
Okay, cool. Like anywhere between like 1300 Mountain Standard Time.
Yeah.
And like so 1 o'clock or whatever.
No worries. I was a Navy corpsman attached to a Marine unit. That's no biggie. I got you. Okay, cool. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, and I'm hoping that those orders are going to be fun. But San Antonio, gosh, that's a really nice place.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm excited. So all right,
cool. I wasn't, because I just bought the house. But so, what was it that you? What like services do you provide?
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I'm primarily an agent that I work over Sotheby's International. I go ahead and I represent properties for sale and work with buyers. Obviously, I buy properties on my own behalf, and certainly, work with investors. But it sort of seems to me like in this particular circumstance, if you bought this 6 months ago, yeah, it might be a situation where you'd probably lose money if you put it on the market. That's my gut telling me this, but I think it would certainly be worth your time, at least to talk with some of those folks briefly about what the potential that they can do for you as far as the program goes. So, you'll know in the future, what kind of money you can get back, because that's certainly it's a considerable amount of money, and you'll definitely want to know about it.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, sounds good. And
Well,
then,
listen.
yeah, cool.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
for
You have a wonderful
Absolutely.
day. Take care.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Yep. You too, bye.
Okay, so the thing about this is probably not going to be able to do business with him, probably not going to be able to be in a position to where we could really help him other than pass the word on to somebody else. Hey, because realistically, if you buy something in 6 months and you're getting orders to go someplace else, yeah, it's going to be real tough to sell that and then still make enough money to pay.
Please leave your message for
To make enough money
Kathy.
to pay for your realtor fees or your closing costs or things of that nature. 10% is probably a little bit aggressive. 7%, at least 7.5%, I should say, here in Tucson's probably a little bit more appropriate, I think. That's just my experience. Let's see here. Yeah. So as you can see, we're having a little bit more luck contacting the for rent by owner people. The for sale by owner people, it appears, have turned their phones off because they don't want to hear from realtors. That's a very common thing that you'll see as the days progress. So typically what you could expect if you're prospecting, the first day, they're going to get deluged with calls. So you want to try and get as early as you possibly can on the first day. Because after about, I don't know. Hello. My name's Carl. I was calling about that rental you had listed online. Are you still trying to fill that vacancy?
Hang on. Still available, yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, great. Well, my name is Carl Krenzel. I'm a broker who buys property. I was actually calling because I work.
Yeah, I'm not interested in selling. Thank you.
No problem. Do you know of anybody else who might be open? I guess not. Do. Take that as a no. Wow. That's why you want to contact them as early as possible, because it makes it a little bit.
Please leave your message for 520269.
It makes it a little bit easier for you to get involved in these conversations, because as you can see, in the afternoon and the evening, it's 7:33 right now. People are getting tired. They're starting to kind of simmer down for the evening. They're relaxing, and here I come ringing the phone, right? It's guaranteed to be fun. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. I called this lady earlier today. I wasn't able to speak with her. One of the things that we were going to talk about today in the podcast that we didn't really get a chance to talk about was this.
Please enter the 10-digit number of the person you are trying to reach.
Was this article, excuse me, this article from Peter Warden, the Mortgage Reports editor. This is a Mortgage Reports, and he had said that homeowners should turn themselves into real estate investors. Oh boy, they're calling this a golden moment for real estate investing. He said, if you've ever been tempted by real estate investing, now might be the perfect time to turn your dream into reality. because the factors that can lead to success rarely line up better than they do today. Oh boy. Let's see what he says. He says, well, let's look at them. Mortgage rates are exceptionally low by historical standards. I agree with that. He says, at the time of this writing, by recent standards too. That's true. At the time of this writing, at the time of this recording, the interest rate is approximately 3.8%. That's ridiculously low. It's practically giving away the money, right? It says home prices are rising at roughly twice the rate of general inflation. And lenders are much more willing than usual to provide financing to sound borrowers. 3 factors. First, low interest rates. 2, home prices are rising at twice the rates of general inflation. 3, lenders are willing to provide financing to a sound borrower, right? So if you're a person on the sidelines and you're just watching me prospect and you're thinking to yourself, well, gosh, let me get into prospecting, but let me get into real estate investing, but maybe I don't want to call people. I get it. When Mr. Warden was talking about real estate, he was saying that essentially when you start talking about real estate, there's really a couple options that you have. Really becoming a landlord and renting out homes to tenants. Maybe over long periods of time. That's one way. A lot of these for rent by owners that we've been calling, not anxious to sell their properties at the moment because they recognize that they're a good value. Second, the second opportunity he was saying, if it was like a slow burn type of opportunity is what he called it. He said buying a vacation home and renting it to more tenants during particular seasons. Now, you might even want to vacation there yourself and maybe even retire. Now, this ultimately is also very common here in Tucson. You'll have a lot of people who are snowbirds here, and maybe you might have this phenomenon where you are. People will come, they'll live in the springtime, they'll live in the late fall, early spring, then they'll move away in the summertime. They'll go back to Tuscaloosa where they're from, or Michigan, or wherever it might be. And then during these summer months, they'll rent their properties out, or they'll just let them sit there dormant. If you've got a situation where you're trying to decide how you want to get into investing, right? Those are 2 ways that you can do it. That'll be a little bit less risky. That will give you a little bit more money over time. Obviously, becoming a landlord and renting it out regularly, or a vacation place ultimately where you'd like to live, right? Then ultimately, when you're trying to borrow, okay, remember a couple things that got us to the big crash, the big problem we had in 2007 and 2008. Some of the biggest problems we had was from people using their homes as ATM machines, as cash out ATMs. They would go down, they would refinance their home, get some cash out of their property, go down and buy another property on speculative marketing, and then hope that the market would catch up, turn around, sell it, and then ultimately make some money on that. The problem with that is that when you're borrowing money to fund a relatively safe investment, because remember, no investment's 100% safe, right? It's entirely different than speculative type investing. And then it can also minimize your risk, right? Now, obviously, one of the things you're going to want to do if you're the first-time renter, first-time borrower, first-time a person who's looking to buy your first property to rent out, one of the things you're really going to want to focus on is getting a very good equity position. If you don't have a good equity position, you're going to have a lot of problems when you're trying to rent the property out and ultimately sell it. Because if the property's having trouble selling, if you don't have enough equity, okay, if the market goes down in any way, and remember, the market doesn't have to go down a lot for you to have a problem, right? I mean, think about it. You've got tenants in.
We're sorry, you have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
I guess he got tired of getting calls.
If you feel you have reached.
If you get a tenant in there who's paying the bills, but let's say they stop making the payment, and now you got to come up with that $1,700 a month or $1,500 a month or X dollar a month payment, if you don't have a good equity position, you're highly leveraged in this. If they fail to make their payments, you got to come up with it, and now you got to come up with all that much more money, and that's not good. That's gonna
You have reached the
that's gonna put you in a financial spot.
520.
I get that. Maybe you're not maybe you're okay. Maybe financially you got that kind of money, but you don't want to put yourself in that position for long, because if you have to make those kind of financial decisions for a long period of time, that's going to be stressful on your life. It's going to be stressful on your marriage. It's going to be stressful on your family. That's not the kind of pressure you want. What you want is the kind of investment that you put a lot of money down. All right. So if somebody, or you have a high equity position, so where if somebody is not going to make their payment, it's not going to kill you, because you can make that payment. Now, how do you get that? Okay. Well, first, I think what's important is for you to learn how to find a good deal. The biggest problem, as I see it, after doing this for so long, the biggest problem as I see it is people don't have the patience to hang in there for a good deal. Okay. The good deal is every week, right? If you go out and you try to make it happen. And that's the part a lot of people don't want to do. A lot of people want to talk about a good deal, but very few people want to act and make a good deal. Because think about it. When it's on the multiple listing service, when it's for rent by owner, when it's for sale by owner, 99.99999% of the time, the reason why it is unsold, and you found it, is because of one reason and one reason only. Anybody want to take a stab at what that reason might be? You're exact.
Hello?
Hi, I was calling about that rental you had listed online. Is that still available?
Oh, that's been rented a long time ago.
Oh, okay. Well, no worries. No worries. Hey, listen, since I got you anyway, do you know anybody who's got an unwanted home I could buy for cash? Guess not. Yeah, so the problem is a lot of people don't want to take this painful step of prospecting and calling people to find that one or two guys, one or two ladies, or whoever it is out there that has a property that they don't want to sell, that has a problem, right? And then the next step is,
This is Scott.
hey, Scott, I was calling about that rental you had listed online. Are you still trying to fill that vacancy?
Which house?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I got the right place. I was calling about that one over there at 928 East 9th. Is that your rental, sir?
That is my rental.
Oh, great. Is that still available?
Unfortunately, no. I just last night put a whole deposit down on.
Well, good for you. That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, listen, do you know of anybody else who's got an unwanted home that I could buy for cash? An unwanted. Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you know anybody else who's got an unwanted home that I could buy for cash?
No, are you calling me to try to buy it, or are you really concerned about renting it?
No, I was calling to see if you were concerned about rent, if you were going to consider selling it at all. Yeah. So,
Oh man, I can tell you this right now. The money that I'd want for the house, you wouldn't, because it's zoned R3. And the neighborhood being in
say no more.
It's in Pine Island neighborhood, 3 blocks from campus.
Yes, sir. Say no more. Yeah, no. I've been a broker here in town 23 years, and I'm looking at your address. It's a great property, and you're telling me it's R3.
Oh, yeah.
That's a hell of a good property to keep.
You called me asking about this house. It's been a broker 23, and you didn't know it was zoned R3 before you called me?
No, God, no. You're a great guy. Don't get me wrong.
Best of luck to you. I appreciate the call, and
you have a wonderful day.
No, it's not still anytime.
No problem. Take care, brother. Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's funny to me. People act as if I'm going to look up every single property prior to calling them. I hate to break it to you, but you're just not, you're not that important. I mean, you are important. Don't get me wrong. Jesus loves you. I love you too, but you're not important enough for me to look up prior to prospecting. That's just not going to happen.
You have reached 602-710.
Keep on dialing. Here we go. All right. Let's see here. All right, resume. Yeah, so one of the things that they had said as far as buying property, as far as an investment property, we were.
Hello, this is Kat.
Hey, Kat Carl, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I was calling about a property that you had for rent. Is that still available?
Oh, the 8th Avenue loft?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Let me put you on the phone with my partner. Just a second.
Okay, no worries. Okay. Right, so I just...
Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
So if you're just listening, what had happened was when the girl said that she was going to get her husband or whatever, I hung up on her because her place was a little one-bedroom, tiny little place. It was a little manufactured home, and I didn't have any interest in it. So, you know, again, it's one of those situations where a lot of people tend to think when you're prospecting that you will just take and get and do everything and anything you can. And that's not the case at all. I mean, I'm looking for a very specific group of people. I'm looking for people who are motivated, who have problems, who are willing to sell. I'm not looking for just everybody. And let's say you do have a problem. Let's say you do have a property that has a problem. Just because it has a problem property does not mean that I'm going to list it. Does not mean that I want to buy it. It just means that you have a problem property and we have a conversation. Because remember, folks, I mean, if you have a problem property that you're trying to buy, does not mean that you want to. I mean, if there's problems that you can't overcome, you can't get it at a price that makes sense. I mean, there's just so many.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging
There's so many
system.
things that would prevent you from buying a property. It's almost, well, nonsensical, really, for somebody to sit there and assume that you want to buy it. Just because you're calling does not mean I want to buy it. It just means I want to talk about it. It means I have a question. It means I want a conversation about it. Does not mean I want to buy it. And it's an important mindset issue, I think, for you when you're prospecting looking for properties. Another thing that article had mentioned that I want to bring up is the point that they had said about bringing up and writing a business plan. You know, when in this, Peter Wardy brings up a very good...
Hi, this is Tyrus with Caption Call. Leave me your name and number, and I'll get back to you soon. Thank you.
He had brought up a very good point. He had said, you know, why do you feel that buying a property, real estate investing, for example, is any different than starting any other new enterprise? You know, when you're starting any other new enterprise, you have a business plan. And it's amazing to me that real estate agents, realtors, and investors do not have a business plan, especially when it comes to their real estate investing.
Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
As you can see, we're at 7:48, so we're getting really close now to the time where people are no longer taking calls legally, all right? But that's okay. We're still calling. We'll see what happens. It's getting kind of dark here. Oh, my goodness. I need to work on my lighting. Holy cow. If you were watching this on Sell More Homes Now on YouTube, you'd be shocked to see the poor quality of lighting that I have right now. This is horrifying. But nonetheless, we all get to spend some time together here. Coming towards the end of our prospecting time together. This is in this business plan. It says you want to think about a few questions, right? Oh, looks like we just got through all the for rent by owners. Let's see here. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to end on these 6 points. I'm going to share them with you very quickly. Well, not 6, but these quick points right here that this article shared that I thought were important for you. So listen, if you're listening to on the podcast, you'll definitely want to listen to this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 points. Yeah, 6 things you want to think about when you're writing your writing your business plan, and the questions that you have when you're writing it. Right. First question: are you looking for high-end tenants who will stay for years? That's a very important question. When you're looking for real estate investment property, What type of tenants are you willing to put up with? What type of tenants are you looking for? Are you looking for high-end people who are going to pay for years? Or, question number 2, are you looking for cheap homes for poorer people, people maybe who don't have as much money? Important questions. Third question, do you want property downtown, suburban, or urban areas, rural areas, right? You want to think about where specifically is this property going to be. You know, this goes right back to that standard that we were talking about earlier today about you prospecting. Where were you willing to go? How far were you willing to go, right? Fourth question, how much time can you realistically devote to being a landlord? Realistically, how much time can you do that? Are you working a 9-to-5 job? Do you have the time to devote to it? You're going to need a property manager. I get that you can think that it's pretty easy. You're going to buy something that's new and you're going to get a home warranty. But who do you think they're going to call at 2 a.m. when little Johnny put down G.I. Joe down the toilet bowl? When things are backing up in the property, they're not going to be calling them. They're calling you. How much time can you devote to being a landlord? The fifth question, what will it cost you to get professionals to do the tasks you can't manage? I understand you're a macho man. Many of us are. However, there are many of us who do not know how to replace roof tile or do plumbing or whatever. If you're not good at that stuff, like me, I'm not that good at that. Well, then how much is it going to cost you to find people that can do what you want them to do? And more importantly, the final question, under what conditions is your local sales and rental market? And what does it mean for you in your plans? I mean, if you're here in Tucson, then that's one thing. But wherever you are, that's an entirely different matter altogether. And you want to consider that long term. Well, guys, listen, you can clearly see the difference between prospecting in the evening and prospecting in the morning. Over this hour or so that we've done some prospecting, it was not as productive as we had in the morning. So a lot of people tend to think that the evening is better, that it's just going to be, a lot easier, that people are going to be relaxed, that you're going to be easier to talk to. As you can see, that's not really been the case today. We've not really had a specific home run, right? As a matter of fact, the only appointment I set today was an appointment that I'd set earlier today from a callback that I had set this morning. So for a total for the day, right? How many people did we talk to? How many calls did we make? How many leads, etc.? Well, let's see. How about we look by day this month? Okay, so today we made 43 contacts. We didn't get any appointments, right? We called, let's see, 80 leads. We made 112 calls, 10 contacts, and that was from today. So yeah, boy, that was just this morning. Wow, not a whole lot. As you can see, it's not always the best. Well, guys, until tomorrow morning when we do some more powerful prospecting, I hope you stay powerful and engaged. I will see you tomorrow and have, as always, a powerful sales day. Bye-bye.